It was very busy. You know, you're running. We left the MTC at like 6 in the morning, and then we drove in a bus out to Salt Lake, took a plane to Dallas, I think, and then did an overnight flight to Argentina. And just realizing that that was a very long trip. Like, it was literally 24 hours of traveling, and I don't do well at traveling. You know, I'm the kind of person where after 2 hours in the car, I want to just get out and never go back in a car again. So that was definitely an adjustment for me to travel for that long. And then just being exhausted because you don't really sleep well on the plane. It's not comfortable. So I just remember getting there and being very tired. And then, of course, confused because you think you know Spanish. And I remember I had thought when I was leaving the MTC, like, oh, I've got Spanish. Like, I may struggle a little, but I'm pretty sure I can do well. And then arriving and realizing how different everything was. One of the things that actually struck me at first that surprised me was the Argentine accent because, you know, I knew that it would be harder to understand people because they're speaking faster, but I didn't realize how different the accent would be than what I anticipated. So I'd been, you know, I grew up and the only Spanish experience I had was with Mexicans. And so going from that to an Argentine where their accent sounded more like Italian to me, and it was very unsettling, just the difference. So I know at least before the Temple of Buenos Aires was in the West Mission, but I think now it's in the East Mission. I think they took that out. And it's where the missions are separated, where all of them kind of come together near the capital city and then all spread out around it rather than, I don't know, I'd always pictured it more being each of them take certain sections, but it's almost like they grew out fan-like from the center, which I thought was interesting. One of the biggest challenges is that a lot of people there don't get married. It's kind of a long process to get married in Argentina. Like, you literally have to get a license and then wait a month before you can get married. And so most people just don't bother. They don't see the point. And so one of the most common things is you'd be teaching someone and you'd have to, in that first lesson, you'd be kind of asking around to figure out if they were married or not and seeing if that would be a challenge later. And if you found someone who was already married, that was actually a really good sign because that meant they were very committed to their marriage and had gone through the annoying process of getting married, and therefore they were more likely to actually feel important about marriage and therefore progress in the gospel. I know that the continent of South America was dedicated for proselyting in Buenos Aires. At that time it had been separated into different missions, but it was in the city of Buenos Aires. I think one of the big areas of growth is out further away from the capital. Like, that's where things are really sparse. And that's where there are actually certain parts where there's so little membership that elders have to be branch presidents. That doesn't happen a lot, but I think there were 3 areas in my mission where an elder would have to be the branch president. So I served from April 2009 to 2011, and I was first in a city called Villa Madero, and then my second one was Villa Amelia, and then my third area was Virrey del Pino, followed by Parque San Martin, and I finished up in, it's in Francisco Alvarez, but I don't think that was the name of the city. It was near that. It was like in that city, but it was a subdivision of the city.